Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, the Public Service Union says 130 public officers recommended for appointment should not lose the benefits for the years prior to appointment. Progress is being made in government's job classification efforts, and the CARICOM Chairman Ralph Gonzalez reassures the region of plans for safe and reliable air transport. The details coming up.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
First up in the news, the ministry responsible for the public service has recommended 130 public officers to the Public Service Commission for appointment. The Honourable Greta Roberts heads the ministry created to provide policy direction for public service reform and modernization.
During the last 6 months, we have worked on this, and we have now processed and submitted recommendations to the Public Service Commission for approval of different categories of public officers. So this includes, well, you had asked about teaching, so I will go with teaching first. So this includes 60 in the teaching service. 60. A lot of them, you know.
60.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
To include principals, qualified teachers, and the graduate teachers. We have 30 junior clerks.
Yeah.
That's a promise kept.
That's right.
Because we had promised them that we would do something. And then we still have about 40 or more so officers from general positions within the service. So all these have been submitted.
So 130,
Oh, yes.
Is correct. 130 positions.
Yeah.
Before the Public Service
Before
Commission.
the Public Service Commission.
Meantime, General Secretary of the Public Service Union, Thomas Later, says government announcements promising appointment of public officers is nothing new. He says while the announcement is welcome, the union will not be complacent but continue to apply the pressure.
Well, for a long time, the Dominica Public Service Union, we have been pushing, and we have been really a strong voice out there calling for the appointment of a number of public officers who are in temporary positions, that is, holding temporary positions in vacant positions. And we have written, we have demonstrated, we have protested, we have done quite a number of things. At the level of the Public Service Commission, we have let our voice be heard. So it is not, and I remember there was a time when the Prime Minister said that some public officers were going to be appointed. So it is not the first time we are hearing about that. We will continue to bring pressure where it has to be. In other words, what we are going to do is that we are going to make sure that we put a little pressure to bear on those who are responsible for doing the EADRs, or the performance appraisal, for those officers, because if the appraisals are not done, they will not be appointed by the Public Service Commission. We will also bring some pressure to bear on the permanent secretaries, who are the ones submitting the recommendations to the Public Service Commission for the appointment of those officers. The Public Service Commission cannot on its own just decide to appoint unless the recommendations come from the permanent secretary, and that is in keeping with the Public Service Commission regulations. So we have to do that.
Later says it's important that the public servants be appointed and not disadvantaged and lose benefits because of the number of years they worked prior to being appointed.
Since the officers are not responsible for the protracted period that they have been in the service and not been appointed, what we will do is that we will write to the government asking them to make a commitment that these people, their years, the non-appointed years, will be taken into consideration when they decide if they decide to resign from the service or to retire, because your benefits as far as gratuity is concerned, that will only, you will only start calculating that from the date you were appointed. So the years prior to your appointment, that is not automatic unless the officer writes to the Minister for Finance asking that those years be taken into consideration. But that is being done when you are about to retire or you just decide to resign. But we want that commitment to be given years in advance, so we will be taking up that matter with the government, because we have always been saying to the media, saying to the general public, the disadvantages that those people face if they are not appointed. Their gratuity, for example, I just explained that to you. They do not get study leave, they do not get annual increment, they only get 21 days vacation, and the issue the areas is a lot of things. So we have to make sure that things are happening. So it is not something that we are shouting about unless it happens. But we are not going to sit and believe, okay, and accept that the minister has made this announcement, it's going to happen. We will continue to put pressure to bear. But we are happy that we have been talking about it and we have never stopped.
In other news now, a call for world leaders to act on principle and stop creating chaos. Andrea Louis explains.
The remarks from Prime Minister Scarrett during a ceremony to mark Venezuela's 209th anniversary of independence over the weekend. Mr. Scarrett says it is the duty of those currently in power to ensure future generations enjoy a free world.
Our forefathers died for freedom, so that we could be free today. They died so that we could be free today. And the question is, what are we going to do to ensure that succeeding generations are free? Are we going to just sit by and say, okay, well, you know, we're fearful, there may be repercussions by us standing on principle? And this is part of the problem in the world. There are just too many leaders and too many countries that are compromising principles, that are compromising principles and creating chaos in the world. And I believe more leaders in the world and more countries and citizens need to stand on principle and promote these ideals. All of these ideals, which great leaders like Marty and Bolivar fought for, to ensure that our Americas, our region, our hemisphere could be free today.
Venezuela's ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Jose Savelli, says despite the attacks on its democracy, the country stands firm with its elected leader.
An attack that comes with threats, with military invasions, freezing of Venezuelan assets abroad, ignorance of debt payments, prohibition of back transfers, an economic, financial, and commercial attack that seeks to weaken the Bolivarian consciousness of the Venezuelan people through induced deficiencies in food and medicine, and therefore detrimental to their quality of life. Well, guess what? The legitimate president, elected by Venezuelans in free and transparent elections, is still in government. His ministers continue to govern, and his conscious people continue to support him. Because it is not just a man. It is not just a president. It is a legacy.
Mr. Scarrett pledged Dominica's continued support to the government and people of Venezuela during these trying times, saying that more is achieved when countries stand together.
This is not a period for us to be daunted. It is a period for us to strengthen our bonds of friendship, strengthen our bonds of solidarity. And once we remain together, we shall overcome. And we will overcome attempts to muzzle us, attempts to keep us in poverty, attempts to enslave us, attempts to deny us of our freedom, and attempts to deny our succeeding generation, our children, of the right to the patrimony day-to-day access to the resources and access to better healthcare, access to improved education, access to better infrastructure, and to live in a society of peace and greater equality.
Dominica and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela established diplomatic ties in 1979.
Parents and children advised not to stress over the Grade 6 National Assessment. Here's Andrea Louis with more.
This year's exams will be won with a difference, as there are new measures in place to align with the country's heightened awareness of the COVID-19 pandemic. With the exam less than 24 hours away, Principal of the Convent Prep, Shirley Lawrence, is advising parents of Grade 6 pupils that the children are prepared for the exams.
I would like to tell the parents, this is no new platform that the Google, this is no new platform for the kids, okay? And the children they are prepared, okay? They have been prepared. So it's only normal as a parent for you to feel a bit scared, a bit anxious, for the negative thoughts to come to your head. But you should not be worried, because God takes care of his own, okay? And the kids are prepared. I'll say that again, because it's not grade 6 and it's not the 2 months or 3 months of COVID that would come in and undo all what that have been done, okay? And our kids, I will say again, they are versatile. So parents, just rest assured.
Speaking to children island-wide, Mrs. Lawrence cautioned them to not be overly worried about their exams.
Kids, you know that you are prepared, okay? There is nothing that should shrivel you up, and nothing that should get you out of sort, nothing that should get you scared. Remember prayer. Remember prayer, remember what you have studied, and remember to pray that God will give you the wisdom that you need. That you build on that knowledge that you already have, and help you to understand. Because with God, nothing is impossible. Okay, so just hold on to him and you will be fine.
The Grade 6 National Assessment will run from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday, 7th July. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
And Dominicans urged to play their part in seeking justice for Kenny Mitchell. The call from organizers of the Justice for Kenny Mitchell awareness gathering on the weekend, who described the event as a success. The awareness gathering, organized by the Caribbean Lives Matter movement, took place on Saturday as a stand in solidarity with the wider Black Lives Matter movement. Spokesperson for Caribbean Lives Matter, Nicole Morrison, says Saturday's gathering raised much-needed awareness on the circumstances surrounding Kenny Mitchell's death in Anguilla last year.
Mr. Mitchell is a young Dominican man who resided in Anguilla. He was murdered by the hands of Gavin Scott Hapgood. Mr. Hapgood left the island with a bail of $74,000 and haven't returned to stand trial. Mr. Terran Azil started a petition to have Mr. Hapgood extradited back to Anguilla to stand trial. This petition is 30,600 signatures in. Our goal is to get 100,000 signatures. We can use this petition to create awareness and help encourage the extradition of Mr. Hapgood back to Anguilla to stand trial for the crimes committed against Kenny Mitchell.
The Dominican public and supporters of the movements are being urged to play their part in seeking justice for Kenny Mitchell.
Our aim is to get everyone to come on board to sign this petition. Go to our Facebook page, Caribbean Lives Matter, and go to the petition and sign the petition. If you all don't have Facebook, you can go to www.change.org/for-Kenny-Mitchell. We intend to send this petition to Interpol, to the UK Parliament, to have Mr. Hapgood extradited, to encourage the extradition treaty between the UK and the US. And the journey has just begun. The fight has just started. Now that everyone are aware of the case, everyone are aware of who the real Kenny Mitchell was, now is the time to speak up. Please go ahead and sign the petition.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD, all for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
Thank you for staying with us. Prime Minister Skerrit says job classification is a major priority for his administration, which will help address a number of the challenges faced by public officers. Chief Personnel Officer Karin Prevost gives an update on where the process towards job classification is at the moment.
So the process of reclassification is an ongoing process. Some people may be aware that we did start some work a couple of years ago. This was a job evaluation exercise. There were some recommendations made from that study, that exercise. However, you know, we've had some setbacks with Tropical Storm Erica and Hurricane Maria, but it has given us an opportunity to reevaluate our priorities, because now we have the Climate Resilience Recovery Plan, we have the National Resilience Development Strategy. So we are working with CARICAD, and we've put together a scope of works which has been approved by Cabinet for an RFP to be sent out to look at what the focus should be for reclassification. I want to thank the staff of the Reform Management Unit, which has been working on the scope of work and the RFP for CARICAD. We've already requested from CARICAD training in advance of the process beginning in job description review and evaluation. So we will train a cadre of public officers who will be able to assist with reviewing our existing job descriptions, looking at our existing systems, and working with CARICAD to make recommendations. So we are getting there. I'm very pleased that we've been able to finalize the scope of works and the RFP, and we are awaiting a response from CARICAD.
New chairman of CARICOM, Honorable Ralph Gonzalez, is reassuring the people of the region that they'll have new regional air transport in the not-too-distant future. Here's the CARICOM chairman speaking on the issue at the 20th special meeting of CARICOM heads, which wrapped up on the weekend. Dr. Gonzalez echoed Mayor Motley's call for the delivery of a regional airline that reflects quality, affordability, safety, and sustainability.
The challenge which is upon us in respect of regional air transportation is one which is in our hands to solve. As chair of the transportation portfolio in the CARICOM quasi cabinet, I've already been in touch with several airlines, the principal ones being CAL, Inter-Caribbean, One Caribbean, and SVG Air. And there are others that Prime Minister Motley has mentioned. I believe that we are going to be able to provide in a very short time a sufficiency of regional transport to serve this sub-region, to serve ourselves safely, reliably, sustainably, and reasonably priced. I want to give that assurance to the people of the Caribbean community.
While both Mayor Motley and Ralph Gonzalez are discussing alternative airlines to meet the region's needs, the Antigua Prime Minister Gaston Brown has extended an open invitation to all CARICOM governments, particularly the main shareholders of LIAT 1974 Limited, to participate in the ownership of LIAT 2020 Limited. Brown did not attend the last CARICOM heads meeting. In a letter to the heads of government of Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Dominica, Prime Minister Brown expressed deep regret that at a recent meeting of shareholders, they were unable to agree on the importance of the regional integration project of maintaining and the operations of Liat 1974 Limited. Brown said a majority decision was made to liquidate the airline with no further discussion, an occurrence which he says he objected to. Mr. Brown is concerned about the impact that liquidating Liat will have on Antigua and Barbuda. Brown said, "We," and I quote, "in Antigua and Barbuda cannot abandon Liat. Liat did not abandon the Caribbean people. Liat did not fail the region. It transported the region's people safely for over 6 decades. It is those who undermined it by encouraging transient profit-seeking in competition that failed it." And the celebration of the feast of St. Peter in Soufrière, Scott said on the weekend, was low-keyed due to social distancing and other precautions taken as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Feast of the Fishermen, celebrated each year around this time, is usually very colorful and well attended by residents, visitors and dignitaries. This year's celebration was curtailed a bit in the interest of protecting parishioners from the coronavirus pandemic.
It is a big feast for the village. However, due to the COVID pandemic, this year we only had the celebration of service, which was beautifully done by the fishmongers and the fisher folks. The church was well decorated. The offering to the priests, the offering of fish and other delicacies to the priests. And then we had a skit. So it's really a fun occasion for us in the Soufrière constituency. I look forward to us having a bigger celebration next year. Hopefully the pandemic would be behind us and we can go back to normal activities. But we had a wonderful time in church today. The message from the priest was very timely, saying that we must dream big, we must have plans and keep our trust and hope in Jesus Christ, who makes all things possible.
Helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. The Public Service Union says 130 public officers recommended for appointment should not lose the benefits for the years prior to appointment. Progress is being made in government's job classification efforts, and the CARICOM chairman Ralph Gonzalez reassures the region of plans for safe and reliable air transport. You may access the news on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.